TED Talks are kind of a funny thing because 3 little letters behind you can have the tendency to convey expertise on average Joes with decent stage presence who can rack up a couple million video views on YouTube. So I want to go ahead and relieve you of a burden right now by telling you that I am not an expert. There we go. But it doesn't take an expert to try to spot a problem. So let me tell you about this problem I found and what we're trying to do to solve it. This is the U.S. household net worth in billions since the end of World War II. It's exploding, skyrocketing, almost 500% growth in terms of household wealth. This is the average size of a U.S. single-family home in square footage. Today, we live in homes that are nearly 50% bigger than people did in 1970. This is the number of mobile phone subscriptions per capita since 1980. Some people carry 2 phones, double fisting. We're drowning in technology, right? But this is charitable giving as a percentage of the gross domestic product of the United States. In fact, charitable giving has been stuck at 2% of the GDP for almost 40 years now. So this is an interesting thing because even though we're exploding in wealth, we live in huge homes, we have all this technology, we're not becoming more generous. This is my lack of expertise, what I don't know about this, has led me to try to uncover what can solve this problem. And this led me to believe that optimization can save the world. So why do I care about charitable giving? I'll tell you a little bit about my story. I graduated from ACU in 2005 with a comms degree and no plan. I moved to Dallas and I went to work for Mark Cuban. People know him now for Shark Tank, knew him then as the owner of the Mavericks, building digital marketing team for his television network. It was great. I got a lot of experience, got to work with some big budgets, and then I did the next logical thing that anybody would do, and I went to work for a family business that sold coffee table books. These weren't just ordinary coffee table books. They were coffee table books for alumni associations to help them raise money. And a lot of times these alumni associations, after we would make these books, would say, hey, can you help us raise the money now? And this is 10 years ago, 2008, which is about 50 years ago in internet years. But we started trying to help these folks sell these coffee table books online in exchange for donations so they could raise money online. And I became fascinated with this concept of fundraising for a couple of reasons. Number one, I'm kind of a contrarian by nature. I like doing things that other people don't, and most people don't like to ask for money, so I saw an opportunity. 2, I have had this drilled in to my head since I was a kid that my stuff is not my own. It's just been given to me to steward and to help out people who need things that I have. And so I thought it would be a great thing to explore this career as a fundraiser and spend the rest of my career helping people let go of their stuff, right? So I went into full-time fundraising at KERA, which is an NPR PBS affiliate in Dallas, and I quickly learned something very fundamental about people and giving. Nobody wants to give their money away. We don't. We're in a culture that tells us, get more, hold on tighter to it, right? No one wakes up saying, I got to go clean out my savings account and give it all away. And I know this because this number right here is the average response rate to an email appeal when you're asking for money. So you'll send out an email appeal to your list of all these supporters, and you will say, will you please support this cause? And less than half of 1% of people will respond with a gift, right? This is considered good. This is like the benchmark. This is from last year, too. So rousing success, right? I see this as a 99.96% failure rate. So I said, this is great. I've chosen this career as a fundraiser. No one wants to give their money away. And now I get to wake up every morning and come to work and fail, right? Has to be something better than this. So I looked around the nonprofit community. I couldn't find anyone who was improving conversion rates like this. Went to the for-profit community and found this guy, Flint McLaughlin. He was the executive director of a group that helped Fortune 100 companies grow revenue through testing and optimization. I thought this could be cool. His company came up with all of these experiments and heuristics and ways to map the mind and what happens when people are making decisions. Because they thought if they can understand what helps people make decisions, then they might be able to engineer more yeses into the sales funnels for these companies. So I took this concept of the funnel to him, and he said, yes, a funnel is a very good analogy because you will send an email to a lot of people. Few of those people will open, even fewer amount of those people will click, and a very small amount of those people will give. That is a useful analogy. It helps say that all of your fundraising efforts should lead to a logical conclusion at the bottom. But he said there's a fatal flaw. Your funnel's upside down. People aren't falling into it. They don't wake up in the morning wanting to give. They're falling out of it. Not only do they have a natural aversion to wanting to give their money away, they also are distracted by everything else in the world. You're not just competing with other nonprofits. You're competing with Netflix. And you're competing with social media. You need people's attention, and they're falling out. But there's a solution, and that solution is optimization. Because optimization can reverse this flow and get people going up into your funnel towards the goal that you want them to achieve, which in this case is a charitable donation. So optimization defined as the process of improving the results of an action. This is an experiment that he showed at his conference, and this is, you can see on the left here, the sales page for a solution that is designed to fix blown head gaskets in your car. And as many times as I've shown this slide, I still don't know what a head gasket is. And he said, you know what? Maybe other people don't too. And so maybe we need to help them understand that their problem is exactly a blown head gasket. And so they created a treatment, which they A/B tested. And you can see it there on the right. And at the beginning, at the top, they introduced this huge box designed to help confirm that these people's problem with their car is, in fact, a blown head gasket. Using technology, they split the traffic that was coming to this landing page on the web, and they found that it produced a 36% increase in purchases, right? Because they were answering a question that the user was asking themselves in their head. Do I have a blown head gasket? If you do, yes, this can solve it. So I thought this is really, really cool. This concept of optimization is not new in the for-profit space. Anytime you go on any sort of big website, you are in some sort of A/B test. Amazon might be, you might be looking at it to buy a car on Amazon, and you find that half the people might be seeing cars without color. Half the people might be seeing cars with color, because Amazon wants to understand, does color help you make a decision, or does it present an extra variable that keeps you from making a decision? This guy, whether you love or hate him, is a master of optimization. He understands how to get you to spend more time on Facebook, because when you spend more time on Facebook, his stock goes up, right? This soothing sea of blue that some of us see so many times per day, right? There's a little ping of red in the corner, a notification. Sometimes you go back just a minute later, and there's a notification, almost as if they're trying to draw you back by metering out the things that are happening, right? He knows this actually affects your brain. Dopamine levels change, and people want to go back and get that little hit of dopamine with this little red notification. People keep coming back, right? Google famously tested 41 shades of blue to see which color makes people click the search button more, because every time you click the search button, Google makes money, right? So they want to see which shade of blue is going to make you mash that button 10% more times. Jeff Bezos from Amazon says that the number of experiments, optimization experiments that he is running is directly correlated to the success of his company, right? And if I have to say, this is really cool stuff, behavioral science, decision psychology, understanding what makes human people tick, but if this is all we got, if this is all we can use this science for, is to make people spend more time in social media and buy more stuff, then we have failed, totally failed. Nick Kristof, a writer for the New York Times, said that toothpaste is peddled with far greater sophistication than all the world's life-saving causes combined. He's right. And it's a tragedy. And so I wanted to take this optimization science and see if we could use this stuff to help people give more generously and solve our generosity problem. I had two friends, luckily, two of my best friends, that we decided to go into business together 4 years ago, Tim and Kevin. And we started this company called NextAfter to do this sort of research with nonprofits. Over the past 4 years, we've mapped more than 189 million interactions, looking at 2.24 million conversions to logged our 1,000th experiment in our research library to try to answer one question: what makes people give? We feel like if we can start to peel back the layers of this question, then we might be able to actually engineer more generosity into society. This is our very first experiment. We were working with the George W. Bush Presidential Center at the time, building the building on the campus of Southern Methodist University in Dallas. And we had an email fundraising appeal. It had been working very well. It had been beating all the benchmarks. But we wanted to see if this sort of concept of optimization might work. And we didn't want to break it, so we only changed one thing. You might not even be able to see what it is from where you are, but we changed the last sentence. That was it. We wanted to minimize our risk. And that sentence change produced a 141% increase in click-through rate and a 42% increase in revenue. I'll show you what it is. The control sentence said this. It said, please accept this invitation to stand with President and Mrs. Bush by making a tax-deductible online contribution now. There's a lot of good things about that. It gives you the opportunity to stand with a former president. It tells you that the gift is tax-deductible, which matters to a lot of people. And it's very clear about what it wants you to do, give an online contribution now. We said, hey, if this is really an invitation, shouldn't we be inviting people to become part of something, to belong to something? That's what invitations do. And we feel like people have this human intrinsic desire to become or belong something. So we created a treatment version. We said, please accept this invitation to become a charter member of the George W. Bush Presidential Center. 141% increase in click-through rate and 42% increase in revenue. And we were hooked. We started trying to optimize all the things. This is a donation form of a nonprofit that we were working with. This is a pretty standard donation form. Looks a lot like an e-commerce form, too, that you would buy anything. It's asking for your information, your address, your credit card information. And we started unpacking this concept of friction. Like maybe people don't want to do work, right? Does that seem logical? So if something looks like more work, fewer people will do it. So we said, this is a lot of fields, and they're all stacked on top of each other, right? Can we eliminate some fields from this? And they said, no way. So we said, maybe we could just rearrange the fields to make them seem smaller. So we put first name and last name on the same line. We put city, state, and zip on the same line. We rearranged the credit card section. So you have the control and the treatment, right? And one is very long, stacked on top of each other. The other seems more compact, even though it contains the same number of fields. That produced a 39.4% increase in conversion rate. 39.4% more people gave because the form seemed smaller, right? It wasn't. This is the Texas State Historical Association. Texas history. People love it and wanted to be a part of this. This is a more than 100-year-old organization. But if they came to the donate page and had not yet made up their mind to give, on this page they only have one sentence designed to convince them to give. It says, you are invited to join the thousands of others who believe in creating a future for your past. So we thought, hey, maybe people need a little bit more value proposition than that. Maybe we need to sell this a little more. So we wrote some copy. Get insider access to the most exclusive Texas history club in the nation. We wrote a lot of copy, in fact, because we thought there were a lot of reasons why someone might want to become a part of the Texas State Historical Association. We set this treatment up. The executive director almost quit because he said, we are not an exclusive club. We're for everybody. We said, okay, let's just see how it goes. And when he saw that, he was a little bit hooked because there was 145% or 146% increase in conversion rate because we weren't selling hard enough. People were coming to this page and they were not yet convinced to give. But extra copy helped people get over the hump and become a member. And this is what happened to the Texas State Historical Association's membership ranks after we started continuing to test and optimize that value proposition. It grew almost tenfold in 3 years. This is an adoption-focused nonprofit in Dallas, and I show you this to show that we don't always have these big green arrows up. We learn more sometimes from our failures. We've learned to embrace failure because it teaches us so much about people. They were sending out an email appeal at the end of the year, a time when lots of nonprofits raise money in December, and they had transcribed a message from their president and put it on this landing page, asking for a gift. And they said, we could actually get the president to say this message on video, and then we could put the video on the page, because don't people want to watch videos, and doesn't it produce a more authentic, empathetic human connection, and wouldn't that make more people give, right? If we put the video on the page and had him read this message rather than letting people read, that would cause more people to give, right? Wrong. Crushed giving. Why? Well, we discovered something, and that's that video kind of makes you sit back, right? Reading forces you to engage. Video, something clicks off in your brain. They say that your mind is more active while you're sleeping than when you're watching TV. Right? So by putting this video on the page, that we cause people to forget what we were actually asking them to do, make a donation. The text, as you read it, leads you straight down to the donation form. So by the time you finish it, you're right there ready to give. The video, YouTube has almost trained us to click away as soon as it's over. This is a donation form. It's a fully secure donation form, compliant in every sense of the word with all aspects of internet security, right? We read that the number one reason people don't give online is because they don't think it's secure. And that may be crazy, as we're all sending money back and forth on our phones and Venmo, but people don't give online because they don't think it's secure. This form is secure. So we said, how do we make this form seem more secure? How do we tell people on the other end of this form who don't know all the back end that this form is indeed secure? Being the creative geniuses that we are, we put a gray box around it and a padlock that we found on Google image search. And we thought, hey, maybe this will set this apart and let them know that this area where you're entering your credit card information is actually secure. We put the two next to each other, and it produced a 9.4% increase in giving. These are all statistically valid numbers that we validate with a high level of confidence to make sure that these lifts are going to be permanent, right? So you may say 9.4%, right? What does that mean? What would that mean? Let's extrapolate that out a little bit. What would it mean if we took that same box, that same padlock, and we put it on every donation form in the world and got the same lift? Highly unlikely, but let's pretend, let's suspend reality for a second. If we did that, and we looked at all the money that was given to nonprofits, last year $390 billion were given to nonprofits. A 9.4% lift on that would mean an extra $36 billion given to charity. What can we do with $36 billion? Do you think this kid might not have to walk 7 miles to get clean water? Could we figure out a solution with $36 billion extra dollars to make sure he gets clean water delivered right to his village? You think these kids might get the meal they've been waiting for weeks? Think we could find room for that? $36 billion? You think this sweet little girl might get the life-saving surgery she's been waiting on but doesn't have the resources to pay for? I think we could find the room for that. In fact, I think if we applied these principles of optimization to giving, we could actually unleash the most generous generation in human history. So this has become our cause, unleashing generosity, doing it through the principles of optimization, right? Using these decision science and behavioral psychology to unlock generosity and convince people to let go of their stuff. It's become our cause. So in closing, I want to ask you a couple questions. First, what's your cause? Don't confuse this with your job. What's your cause? What are you here to do? What's a problem that you want to see undone? I've been lucky enough to have my job aligned with my cause, and we're just beginning this process. But what is your cause? What is it that you really want to make happen? 2, what conventional wisdom will you have to reject to get there? I was told that this was good. This was success. You know, I learned to look at it like this, and it changed everything for me. And last, what funnel are you going to have to flip? You know, I used to think that people were coming to me, ready to give. They were falling into my funnel. It was only until I learned that my funnel was upside down and they were falling out that I was able to do the things and explore this concept of optimization to understand how I can get people moving back upward into my funnel towards becoming generous and making donations. Now, you can help me in this mission. I've learned a couple things in the past 4 years. Number one, we're only barely scratching the surface of this. 1,000 tests in, we know just a hair more than we did 4 years ago. This is a long, long journey, and we may not be the ones to complete it. But I've also learned that we can't do this alone. So I want to ask one thing of you today. You can join me in this mission, and you don't have to come work for us. You don't have to go work for a nonprofit. You can be a baker or a teacher or the world's best toothpaste salesman. But at some point in your life, you will be given the opportunity to give or to hold back. And all I would ask you to do is to err on the side of generosity, because it'll never let you down. Thanks.